Previously on Dragon Ball Super, the new Tournament of Power. Because of the many complaints made by the Gods of Destruction about the location of the Super Dragon Balls in Universe 6 and 7, the Zenos and Daishinkan decided to create a new Tournament of Power. This time, the winner of the tournament will be entitled to a request for the Super Dragon Balls, and the winner's universe will have the orbs. But it's not just the prize that's different. In this tournament, the rules will also be very different. Daishinkan gives the Gods of Destruction 24 hours to select 5 warriors from their universes to compete. Universe 7 selects Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Gohan, and Piccolo as participants. Frieza was mentioned to be a participant, but for some mysterious reason, Whis couldn't find him anywhere in the universe. After all the participants are selected, they head to the new Tournament of Power Arena, a place called Planet Arena, a gigantic planet created with the union of all 12 Supreme Kais, and with the help of the High Priest himself. According to Shin, all matter on this planet has at least twice the strength of the matter used for the arena in the first Tournament of Power. After all the participants are gathered, Daishinkan explains the competition. The High Priest reveals that unlike the first Tournament of Power, this tournament will not have just one stage, but many stages. This means it will be a longer event with more variety of rules and challenges. Daishinkan doesn't explain all the stages, just the first one. In this first stage of the tournament, the twin universes will fight in pairs. That is, the two teams of the twin universes will form a single team. That means Universe 2 and 11 will fight together, as will Universes 3 and 10, 4 and 9, 6 and 7. In this first stage, all participants received an artificial Dragon Ball created by Daishinkan, and the objective of all participants is, in addition to protecting their own orb, take the orb from a participant of another team. And after that, with these 2 orbs, the participant must go to the center of the planet. Thus, of the 40 participants who started the competition, only 20 will move on to the next stage. And that's not all. Universes 1, 5, 8, and 12 are being represented by the Gods of Destruction themselves, which means that from the second stage onwards, mortals will need to face the gods themselves. How will Goku and his friends deal with all these rules and challenges? Episode 2. The tournament begins. Multiple battles happen across Planet Arena. After the meeting where Daishinkan explains the rules of the first stage of the tournament, the High Priest sent all the participants to the ends of the Planet Arena. Team 4, made up of the participants from Universe 6 and 7, the teams are sent to a forest. At this point, they can finally talk about what's going on. Goku, still a little confused, says, "I still don't understand all this very well. Everything was explained very quickly." But Vegeta scolds his rival. "Shut up, Kakarot. Nobody has time to explain things to you." Piccolo agrees. Piccolo says, "Vegeta is right. What we have to do now is think about our strategy to win." But Vegeta disagrees. "Strategy? I don't have time for these things. I'll do things my own way. You do what you want." Vegeta flies away. Kaba, worried, says, "Wait, Master Vegeta, we shouldn't be walking around alone." Kaba goes after Vegeta. Hit says, "I also have my stuff to do. See you later." Hit goes away, and Goku yells for him. "Hey, Hit, wait, let's fight a little." Goku goes after the assassin. After that, Piccolo sighs and says, "Damn, these guys are hard-headed. They always act before they think." Caulifla impatiently says, "I agree with them. This strategizing thing is very boring. Kale, let's go find someone to beat up." But when Caulifla looks at Kale, she sees that her friend and Broly are staring at each other. They both look at each other in a way that seems to be hypnotized. Everyone is embarrassed seeing that scene. Caulifla, confused, asks, "What's going on with them?" Gohan also watches awkwardly, theorizing, "Well, I think they're 2 sides of the same coin, so it should be normal for them to be curious about each other." Piccolo, also embarrassed, says, "I understand, but it's weird." Caulifla, without patience, goes to them, takes them both by the arm and says, "I don't know what the hell is going on here, but if you guys want to be together, then let's go together." Caulifla flies away, carrying Broly and Kale by the arms. Gohan, worried, asks, "Mr. Piccolo, should we let Broly go alone with them? He could get out of control, and that girl named Kale is also not very reliable when it comes to controlling her own instincts." Piccolo replies, "Well, that Caulifla girl knows how to handle Kale. As for Broly, the only one who understands him well are Goku and Vegeta, and they're not here anymore. I don't think we're any better than Caulifla to help him. Guess we'll have to rely on luck for this one." Piccolo looks around and sees that only he, Gohan, and Frost are left. Addressing Frost, the Namekian says, "Aren't you going to go around like crazy too?" Frost replies, "No, I think I'll take a smarter approach this time." Piccolo smiles and then says with a tone of irony, "Who would have thought you, the one I like least in the group, would be the one who would listen to what I say. Frost, with the same tone of irony, says, "Don't tell me you are hurt from that fight. It's been a long time." Piccolo replies, "No, I'm not the type of person to hold a grudge for that sort of thing. Now let's move forward towards the center of the planet. We'll likely encounter enemies on the way, and then we'll get the necessary orbs to advance. Enemies will likely attack as a group, so we need to protect each other. Are you in agreement?" Gohan and Frost agree, and then they move forward. Some time passes, and then several explosions happen all over the planet. The participants finally meet, and the battle finally started. Hit is flying through a mountainous region when he looks back and sees that Goku is following him. The assassin from Universe 6 says, "I'd rather be alone." Goku asks him, "Hey Hit, could you fight me? Just a little. I've gotten a lot stronger and would like to measure our power now. Did you get stronger too? Please say yes." Hit refuses, saying, "Don't be an idiot. We're on the same team. It would be really stupid to spend all our energy fighting each other right now." Goku gets very upset with that answer and says, "Damn, too bad. I really wanted to fight you." But Goku has another idea, and excitedly he says, "Jiren is from another team, so I can look for him." But they stop talking when they notice something. And then three things come out of the rocks and try to attack them with surprise blows, but they dodge. After dodging the first attacks, they see that they're robots that were hidden inside the stones. Missing the first few attacks, the robots surround them, and then Paparoni appears. He was hiding in the rocks. Paparoni, a little frustrated, says, "Damn it, I was sure our trap was perfect." Goku, not liking this dirty tactic, says that doing that kind of thing was not cool. If they wanted to fight, just ask. But Hit, with a different mindset, praises Paparoni and the robots for the trick. It was a good strategy, and if he and Goku were weaker warriors, they would surely have been defeated. Paparoni is grateful for Hit's praise, but says that one way or another they will win. And then he orders. Paparoni says, "Balarator, Panchia, and Koitsukai, attack!" The three robots head towards Goku and Hit, who take up their fighting stances. Vegeta and Kaba are also flying over a mountainous region, but not the same as Goku and Hit. Kaba follows Vegeta, who is a little annoyed by this. He says to the younger Saiyan, Vegeta says, "Hey Kaba, I thought I said I wanted to be alone." But Universe 6's Saiyan replies, "I'm sorry, Mr. Vegeta, but I don't think it's wise for us to be alone. Enemies can attack in large groups, so we need to have someone watch our backs." Seeing that there was no point in arguing, Vegeta ends up giving in, and then says in agreement, "Alright, but try not to get in my way." Suddenly a laser shoots through the rocks and almost hits Vegeta, who narrowly dodges it. Who fires this attack was Frieza, who flew out of the middle of the rocks, but he's not alone. Cooler is with him. Seeing the enemies, Vegeta gets very angry. Vegeta says, "Frieza, you bastard! I already expected all kinds of dirt for you, but why join another universe?" Frieza, with a mischievous smile on his face, replies, "Isn't it obvious? I want to become a god of destruction." That answer surprises Vegeta and Kaba, and then the Emperor explains. "Sidra, Universe 9's god of destruction is a true failure. He doesn't have much respect among the gods, as he has the lowest grade among them all. And he's not very strong either. Because of that, I promised him that I would go to Universe 9 and help him plot something against Beerus. My intention was to team up with Cooler and kill him, but then came this excellent opportunity to get the Super Dragon Balls once again." Vegeta looks at Cooler and then says, "Cooler, right? I've heard a lot about you. For a long time you were a true terror in our universe. A warrior even more feared than Frieza and Cold. But from what I heard, you were betrayed by them and killed. And that was before I was born. How are you here?" Cooler explains, "I wasn't dead, just trapped. But Frieza decided to release me and make a deal. Of course I hate him and want to kill him, but because of what he and my father did to me, but what can I say? The advantages of this arrangement were greater than my hatred for Frieza." Frieza interrupts the conversation, saying that they've already talked too much. Now it's time to fight. Vegeta agrees and warns Kaba to watch out for them. Kaba says that he already knows what Frieza is capable of. He suffered at the hands of this cursed being in the Tournament of Power, so he certainly won't let his guard down. The four warriors advance towards each other, and intense combat breaks out in those mountains. Broly, Kale, and Caulifla were flying through a forest. Broly and Kale flew side by side, while Caulifla led the way. Looking back to see the two of them, Caulifla sees them both trying to talk. Broly, with a shy expression, finally says something. He says his name. Kale, with the same shy expression, also says her name, and that it's a pleasure to meet him. Caulifla, seeing the scene, is a little embarrassed too. She is embarrassed by their lack of social skills, but she's suddenly surprised when Napapa leaps out of the trees and grabs her in midair, taking her into the trees and destroying at least a dozen trees. Broly and Kale are startled by that and stop flying immediately. At that moment, Majikayo and Metihope also jump out of the trees, and while Majikayo raises one of his arms and hits Broly with a punch, Metihope also lands a hit on Kale. That way the Saiyans are separated. Caulifla, after being hit by Napapa's blow, rubs her sore head. After that, she sees the big pink fighter staring at her. The Saiyan girl complains. Caulifla says, "Damn it, you again? I thought I already taught you a lesson in the last tournament." But Napapa says with a very angry expression, "Things won't be like that time. I'm gonna crush you this time." Meanwhile, Kale faces Metihope. She's scared and disgusted by the lobster-faced warrior. Metihope, trying to scare Kale, says, "Hey little girl, this time that friend of yours won't help you. It's just me and you." The lobster man makes very ugly faces which scare Kale, who with great disgust and fear screams for Caulifla. Meanwhile, Broly faces Majikayo and advances to land a blow on his enemy, but Majikayo distorts his own body and counterattacks Broly, who is very confused because of that man's weird ability. Piccolo, Gohan, and Frost are flying through a forest when suddenly Diem, a bird warrior, comes flying up and fires an energy attack on them. To dodge the attack, the three disperse. Taking advantage of this, Lubal jumps up out of the trees and lands an attack on Piccolo, who is thrown against a rock. After doing so, Lubal says, "You were the one who defeated me that time. I'm here for my rematch." Piccolo, after getting up, smiles and says, "Well, some people never learn." Gohan yells for Piccolo and thinks about going to help him, but suddenly twisted images of someone appear before him, and Gohan is hit by an attack. Seeing who it is, Gohan recognizes his opponent. It's Obni, a warrior he faced during the Tournament of Power. Seeing this man, Gohan smiles and says, "It's a pleasure to see him again." Obni smiles too and says he enjoyed fighting him that time and would love to have his rematch. The two fly towards each other to start the fight. Frost, seeing that Gohan and Piccolo were already fighting, turns to Diem. Frost says, "Well, it seems I have no choice but to face the weakest, but at least I won't have so much trouble." Upon hearing these words from the Universe 6 warrior, Diem gets very angry and says he will make him pay for those words. In the mountains, an intense battle takes place between Goku and Hit against the three powerful machines of Universe 3. Panchia, Boletator, and Koitsukai attack the two warriors with all their might. But despite that, Goku and Hit are dealing very well against these three robots. Goku is fighting in Super Saiyan, and Hit clearly isn't using that much power either. In a few moments of fighting, the three robots are already seriously damaged. Seeing this, Goku suggests that they hand over the Dragon Balls and flee to continue fighting at another time. Continuing this fight now makes no sense, but Pepperoni says that this is not all the power of his creations, and so the three robots start a process of fusion. And then Bolerator, Panchia, and Koitsukai become the super robot, Koichia Raider. Goku is very surprised. He had forgotten that they could do that, but then he smiles and says that at least the fight will be more fun that way. But Hit thinks differently. For him, it's all a waste of time. Koichia Raider lunges for the attack and tries to land super strong blows on the Universe 7 and 6 fighters, and also fires a lot of energy attacks at them. Because of the robot's strength, Goku and Hit avoid an exchange of direct hits, but circle the robot, landing many physical attacks and energy attacks, which stun the creature, until the two finally team up and fire two energy attacks at the robot, which also fires an energy attack at them. The energy waves collide, and for a while the attacks are a draw. But Goku increases his power to Super Saiyan 2, while Hit also increases his energy, and thus the two together defeat Koichia Raider's energy, who is swallowed by their attacks and is torn apart. Pepperoni, seeing the triple robot fusion being destroyed like that, screams in despair. Hit goes to his back, and while pointing his hand at him, threatens him, ordering him to hand over the orbs. Each of them had an orb, which means that they had 4. With that, almost half of the team 4 members could advance to the next stage. But then Pepperoni yells that Universe 3 shouldn't be underestimated, and at the moment he makes a gesture that makes Koichia Raider's parts go to him, and so a new fusion begins. Aniraza is born. Goku remembers the trouble this creature caused in the Tournament of Power, and tells Hit that he must be prepared. In another mountainous region, Vegeta and Kaba face Frieza and Cooler. Vegeta fights Golden Frieza in Close Saiyan Blue, and they both have a very close fight. Meanwhile, Kaba faces Cooler in Super Saiyan, and the two also have a fierce fight. But even though their power level isn't that different, Cooler seems to have a bit of an advantage, and lands more attacks on Kaba. Frieza's older brother says, "You're a very powerful boy, but you're young and you don't seem to have as much combat experience as I do. This leaves you at a disadvantage." Cooler lands many attacks on Kaba, who after receiving so many hits, decides to transform into Super Saiyan 2, surprising his opponent. And after transforming, Kaba has a lot of advantage and lands a lot of attacks on Cooler, and then he says, "With that difference of power, your experience will not help." But Cooler is very angry by receiving so many blows and says, "You brat, don't think that's all the power of the great Cooler." After saying that, Cooler starts his transformation, and now he has a much wilder and more imposing appearance. The transformation surprises both Kaba and Vegeta. Cooler charges at Kaba, and this time, he fights at the same level as Sadala Saiyan. While fighting Frieza, Vegeta is distracted by seeing the transformation and receives an attack from Frieza for it. The villain scolds Vegeta, saying that if he pays attention to anything else, he would end up dying. Vegeta asks what that transformation is that Cooler has, and Frieza explains that Cooler, in addition to all the power he had in the base form, had a transformation that increases his power even more. Basically, this form of Cooler is an evolution of their race's base power, just like the Golden form, but it's obviously far from having the power of the Golden form, since Cooler didn't train to get this transformation. This form appeared with the natural evolution of his power. After Frieza explains this, Vegeta deduces that if Cooler was powerful enough to have an extra transformation, that means he's naturally much more powerful than Frieza. Frieza confirms, Cooler is indeed more powerful than he naturally is, and this was the reason he and Cold betrayed Cooler in the past. Obviously now Cooler is still not as strong as he is, as Frieza has evolved a lot with great battles and training. But his older brother has an equally fast evolution ability, and if he goes through the same trainings as Frieza, he will become much more powerful than he is. Vegeta asks if that doesn't worry Frieza. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who would tolerate having someone more powerful around, especially an enemy from the past who wants revenge. Frieza says this is obviously a concern, but for now he has everything under control and will use Cooler for now. But Vegeta says that Frieza's ambition ends now, and he's going to put an end to it. After the Prince of the Saiyans says this, the two fight even more intensely. Meanwhile, Broly, Caulifla, and Kale was fighting against Metihope, Napapa, and Majikayo. Broly tried to land many attacks on Majikayo, but he distorts his body in a way that confuses the Saiyan, and counters Broly with many attacks. In one moment, Majikayo distorts his own body to hold Broly's body, and also to suffocate him. Meanwhile, Metihope attacks Kale, who is scared of the ugly creature next to her. She attacks Metihope in the face, but just like he did in the Tournament of Power, he holds the warrior's hand. But this time, unlike what happened when they fought in the Tournament of Power, Kale is not only scared, but she starts to get very angry with him. And then, for him to release her, she transforms into a Super Saiyan, fending off the Universe 10 warrior while emanating a powerful aura of ki. Metihope, after being pushed away by Kale, returns very angry to punch the Saiyan. But suddenly, all of Kale's muscles grow, and when he lands a punch on her, she doesn't even move, scaring the Lobster warrior greatly. Seeing Kale's terrifying expression with completely white eyes and an expression of madness, Metihope is extremely scared, and then, in a surprising act, begins begging for his life. He takes the Dragon Ball he has, leaves it at Kale's feet, and just runs away. After the warrior leaves, Kale laughs. Actually, she was just pretending she was crazy to scare the opponent. Meanwhile, Caulifla was fighting Napapa. She used Super Saiyan against him, and has the full advantage in the fight. Caulifla lands many attacks on the Pink Man, and while humiliating him with her blows, she says, "You're a disgrace. Your power hasn't grown at all since the Tournament of Power. Back then I had a lot more trouble beating you." Napapa, very angry, yells at her not to underestimate him, and then tries to grab her, but Caulifla doesn't even move, which causes the man to despair. Then she says, "How about I defeat you using the same move I used before?" After saying that, Caulifla lifts Napapa off the ground and then uses a blow that sends him headfirst into the ground, knocking the Pigman out. Broly was being strangled by Majikayo, who made fun of the Saiyan. Majikayo says, "From your size, I thought you'd be a bigger challenge, but you're just a weakling." While losing all the oxygen, Broly becomes dizzy and his vision becomes dim. In that moment, he remembers what Goku and Vegeta said to him as they trained on Beerus' planet. He can't be afraid to use his own power. At that moment, Broly begins to concentrate energy, and the power of the Saiyan makes the whole forest tremble and surprises Majikayo, who feels every particle of his body vibrate with that intense energy. And then Broly releases a huge amount of power at once, along with the Super Saiyan's aura, and the legendary warrior's energy makes Majikayo's body completely shatter. After that, Majikayo remakes his body and looks with great fear at the legendary Super Saiyan emanating power. Broly's power was so intense that his opponent was completely paralyzed with fear. The Saiyan opens his mouth and then shoots a powerful wave of energy that upon reaching Majikayo carries him far away. After doing this, Broly fell to his knees. He was losing control. At that moment, Kale and Caulifla approach, and Kale, still in her muscular form, approaches Broly and touching the man's shoulder tells him that she knows how it feels, that hatred and fury seem to have the control, but if he thinks about what brings him comfort, joy, and happiness, he will be able to regain consciousness. And upon hearing this, images of Lemo and Cheelai come to Broly's mind. And at the moment, the rage-ridden Saiyan seems to regain consciousness and then returns to his base form. As soon as Broly does this, Kale and Caulifla praise him, and the man thanks the girl who helped him. Piccolo and Lubalt exchange physical blows. Lubalt has the upper hand in exchanging punches, but Piccolo uses his other martial arts skills to counter his opponent. As the two exchange blows, Lubalt comments that Piccolo seems to have improved his martial arts skills. Piccolo also praises his opponent, saying that Lubalt has clearly trained too, but he won't win this fight. Piccolo steps away from Lubalt and fires several ki balls at him, surrounding the opponent with dozens of ki balls, and after doing so, he launches them all at once, causing a huge explosion. But this time, this technique didn't work. Lubalt defended himself with an energy shield, which surprises Piccolo. After doing so, the Universe 10 warrior leaps towards the Namekian and punches him in the face, sending Piccolo flying. Lubalt says that obviously he would prepare to defend himself from the technique that defeated him in the last tournament. It is disappointing for him that Piccolo thought he would beat him in the same way, but Piccolo smiles and says that he would never try to beat the same warrior in the same way. And after saying that, he tells Lubalt to look at the ground. And when the warrior of Universe 10 does so, he sees that he's surrounded by small mines of energy, similar to what Goku did against Jiren. As soon as Lubalt sees that he's surrounded by these things, he thinks about running away, but it's too late, and Piccolo makes all these tiny little energy mines explode, creating multiple explosions that defeat his opponent. Now Gohan faces Obni, who does everything he can to trick the Earth Saiyan with his After Image ability, but Gohan already knows how to deal with that ability. He lets Obni land an attack, so he knows his real location and counterattacks. Gohan praises his opponent. His punches are stronger and he's resisting the Saiyan's punches better, which means he's really trained a lot. Obni confirms he really trained hard, and this time he will be the victor. As the fight continues, Gohan starts to have a disadvantage, and realizing this, Obni smiles and says, "Did you think you'd beat me the same way again? Last time you found out that receiving an attack from me, you would know my location, and thus be able to counterattack. And also, at that time, you bet on my fatigue, and when I couldn't use my power anymore, you defeated me with a direct attack. But obviously I thought of a way to deal with this tactic of yours. Your counterattack won't work anymore, since now every time I attack, I'm already waiting for your counterattack. So I avoid it. I also trained a lot to strengthen my body and have stronger attacks, so you won't be able to withstand as many attacks from me as before. And lastly, I've also trained my ability to spend less energy while I use it, so you won't be able to use my fatigue to your advantage like last time." While Obni was saying all these things, he hit many attacks on Gohan, who was already starting to get tired and injured. The Saiyan admits, "You've really improved a lot. You're faster, stronger, and tougher. In addition, you're managing to use your special ability much more accurately. You completely destroyed my strategy. I won't be able to win fighting like last time." After hearing these words from Gohan, Obni says, "Don't look so calm, you're finished." The Universe 10 warrior corners Gohan, then lands a blow that would likely defeat the Saiyan, but then Gohan completely disappears from his sight. It was a mirage. When Obni realizes the Universe 7 warrior is already behind him with a Kamehameha prepared, and then he fires the energy wave, completely engulfing the green man, who screams in pain and is completely defeated. After that, while Obni is on the ground, Gohan approaches and explains, "I realized that the same strategy as before wouldn't work on you anymore. So I decided to let you gain confidence while using an after image to trick you. I figured you wouldn't expect me to use the same technique as you to win, and I took advantage of this surprise to land a definitive blow." After hearing this, Obni smiles and praises Gohan. It was a good strategy. He is completely defeated. After admitting defeat, Obni passes out and Gohan takes the Dragon Ball he carries. Meanwhile, Piccolo and Frost approach. Both have already beaten their opponents. Frost celebrates that they already have the orbs needed to get through, but Piccolo warns that they still have a long way to go to the center of the planet, and that just as important as getting the orbs is keeping these relics. On the way, other opponents will surely try to take the orbs, so they must be prepared. In another region of the planet, Vegeta and Frieza fought very intensely, but Frieza was starting to have an advantage against the Prince of the Saiyans. Vegeta notices that Frieza, during this time that he was away, has increased his powers. Vegeta, annoyed, says, "Damn you, Frieza! Have you increased your powers again? The villain boasted, "Exactly, my dear Vegeta. While I was with Cooler, I trained my skills with him, and in this way I managed to increase my powers." But it wasn't just Frieza that surprised the Saiyans. Cooler also had an advantage against Kaba, who even in Super Saiyan 2 was getting more and more beaten up by the villain. Until in a moment of the fight, Cooler hits Kaba with a powerful laser released by his eyes. This attack seriously injures Kaba, and in addition to making the Saiyan lose his transformation, it also knocks him down. As Kaba falls, Cooler approaches him and grabs him around the neck, strangling the young Saiyan. Seeing Kaba being suffocated by Cooler, Vegeta immediately transforms into a Super Saiyan Blue evolution, and he takes advantage of the sudden increase in power to surprise Frieza, hitting many attacks on the villain and stunning him. And after doing so, Vegeta approaches Cooler, landing a kick that knocks him away from Kaba. After that, Kaba, lying on the ground, apologizes to Vegeta. He was again too weak and is causing problems for his master. Vegeta says that apologizing won't help. Now all he can do is keep quiet so that the wound doesn't get worse. He will take care of Cooler and Frieza by himself. At that moment, Cooler and Frieza were already side by side. Frieza, smiling, asked Vegeta if he really thinks he can handle the two of them together. Although the Saiyans surprised him with the sudden increase in power from the common blue form to the blue evolution form, the power of his golden form is currently not that different from the power of the blue evolution form. But Vegeta smiles. The Super Saiyan Blue evolution form is no longer his most powerful form. Now he has another transformation that far surpasses the power of the Super Saiyan Blue. If Frieza and Cooler want it, he can show it. But upon hearing this, Frieza becomes more serious and tells Cooler that they better back off. Cooler doesn't like that idea. Why should they back off? Together they can defeat that Saiyan. They trained a lot and increased their powers a lot. They can win. Frieza says that they'll maybe beat Vegeta, even though he's using this supposedly more powerful form. But it's too early to start such a high-level battle. They should avoid using full power for now. So they'd better end this fight for now. Despite not liking the idea that much, Cooler decides to do as Frieza is saying, and they back off. Meanwhile, Goku and Hit are fighting Aniraza, the mighty giant from Universe 3. Aniraza tries to land his powerful attacks on the Universe 6 and 7 warriors, but the two, knowing they can't compete for strength against that Titan, just dodge it while looking for gaps to attack. Aniraza, while trying to land punches and kicks on the two warriors, destroys the entire surrounding area. Goku yells at Hit, "Hit! To win him, we need to destroy the thing in the center of his head." Hearing Goku's advice, Hit uses the time skip to move forward towards Aniraza's head, and it's only when the assassin is close to attacking that the giant notices him. But to Hit's surprise, Aniraza opens a fissure in space and time and punches the assassin, who is caught off guard and thrown away. Goku tries to take advantage of Aniraza's distraction and fires a Kamehameha at him, but the giant fires a wave of red energy from the crystal in the center of his head, nullifying Goku's attack. After doing this, he creates several portals and lands several punches in these portals. These punches are all teleported to Goku, who tries to dodge it, but is hit. After that, the giant creates a ball of red energy in his hand, and when he launches this energy towards Goku, the energy splits into many attacks, which go towards Goku and Hit. The two need to move intensely to avoid being hit by the attacks and explosions. Seeing that it was difficult to approach alone, Hit says, "Son Goku, we have to approach and attack at the same time." They advance and attack at the same time, trying to distract Aniraza and find a breach. But the monster, enraged, begins to emanate a large aura of energy and then shoots several energy balls everywhere, creating a series of explosions that completely destroy the whole place. Goku and Hit dodge many of these attacks, but are hit by others. As soon as it hits the two fighters, Aniraza rushes towards them to attack them. Goku, seeing that the giant monster was about to crush them with his foot, tells Hit to protect his eyes, and when the assassin does so, Goku uses the Taiyoken, blinding Aniraza. And as soon as the monster stops, Goku touches Hit and teleports, taking the two of them out of there and then to a place where they can stay hidden. Hit asks why Goku did that, and the Saiyan explains that if they keep fighting without a plan, they will be defeated by the monster. At the time of the Tournament of Power, it took 6 Universe 7 fighters to defeat Aniraza. That creature was tough. Goku says he could beat the monster if he used more energy, but he wanted to save his energy for now. So it would be nice if they could think of a smart way to handle the situation. Hit agrees with Goku, but attacking that monster was very difficult, as he seems to have no blind spots and is also capable of making attacks from multiple directions easily. Getting close to him to attack is very difficult, but he has an idea. It will probably only work once, so Goku needs to be prepared to land a definitive attack. Goku doesn't know what it is, but he trusts Hit's intelligence, so he just agrees. Aniraza, after regaining his sight, was launching energy attacks to all sides, destroying the entire area around him, looking for the two opponents. At that moment, Hit appeared, and hitting a punch in the air makes a purple energy go towards Aniraza, who uses an aura of energy to defend the attack. But Hit uses this as a distraction to use the time skip to punch the monster, who immediately reacts by emanating more energy and knocking Hit away. But even becoming hit by the monster's attack, the assassin smiles and says, "It's over. I just needed to land one hit." Hit points his hand at Aniraza, and then the monster is surrounded by the assassin's energy. That was the Cage of Time. After paralyzing the giant, Hit yells, "It won't be able to hold him for long. It's your chance, Son Goku." Goku appears next to Aniraza with the instant transmission. He is in Super Saiyan Blue and using the Kaioken, and he already has energy concentrated in his hands. Goku yells, "Kamehameha!" And then a great wave of energy hits the monster in the crystal in the center of its forehead. The crystal shatters and Aniraza is defeated. After Aniraza is defeated, the fusion is separated. Hit approaches them to collect everyone's Dragon Balls. However, to Hit and Goku's surprise, Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil suddenly approach them, landing an attack of both of them and pulling them away from the defeated participants. The three Universe 9 warriors were hiding, just waiting for that fight to end so they could get the losers' orbs. Goku criticized them. This is a cowardly tactic. But the three beatsmen laugh at the statement. What matters is winning. The chosen tactics are irrelevant. And after saying that, the three flee. Goku, very angry, goes after them. Hit tells Goku to wait. Going after them like that is reckless. It's probably a trap. But before Hit follows Goku, the entire environment around him changes, and then he realizes he's in an illusion. From the shadows of that illusionary world emerges the image of Dark Kori, who says that Hit was caught in the illusion of her talismans. Seeing he has no choice, Hit makes his fighting stance to fight the woman. Goku chases Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil for a while, until they suddenly stop running and attack the Saiyan. They are in a volcano. Bergamo says that Goku is an idiot. They just wanted to separate him from Hit, and he did exactly what they wanted. But Goku smiles. He already knew what they wanted to do, but he just doesn't care. He can defeat them all by himself. The three beasts are irritated by the statement. Goku shouldn't underestimate them like that. The three attack the Saiyan at the same time. Goku starts out fighting in base form, but he has a hard time fighting, as they attack so intertwined. And not only that, they were stronger too. Goku praises his opponent, saying that he can feel in the blows of the three that they are stronger. Lavender, while attacking alongside his brothers, brags that they not only trained individually to become stronger, but also trained as a group to further improve teamwork. Goku says that in that case he'll have to level up a bit, and then he transforms into a Super Saiyan. Bergamo recognizes this transformation as being Goku's weakest transformation, and it angers him. Is Goku still underestimating them? But the protagonist says he wants to feel their power and enjoy that fight. If they think they're strong enough to see his strongest transformations, they need to prove themselves. The three warriors of Universe 9, filled with fury, attack Goku. Bergamo tries to cut the Saiyan with his claws. Basil launches strong kicks, and Lavender fills his fists with poison and attacks. Goku skillfully fights them, using all the skills worthy of a martial arts master. But despite Goku fighting very well, the trio manages to land many hits on him. And in one moment they manage to land an attack that launches Goku into the volcano. But a few seconds later, the protagonist comes out of the volcano, and now he emanates the aura of Super Saiyan 2. The trio smiles. It looks like Goku is taking them more seriously. Goku advances towards the three opponents, and this time, he is the one who presses the opponents. Goku lands a lot of attacks on all of them, and defends and dodges attacks more easily. As he beats the three up, he asks if they want him to go back to the other transformation. The trio gets even more furious and then unleash even more power. Bergamo, using the energy of Goku's attacks, begins to increase his size. Lavender puts even more poison in his hands, and Basil starts to emanate even more energy, and covers his legs with energy so intense it feels like fire. After increasing their power, the three wild men advance with even more fury. They attack Goku with all their might, launching a lot of energy attacks, and also attempting a lot of physical attacks. Goku realizes that, in that way, they were able to match powers with the Super Saiyan 2. No, they were getting over it. At one point, Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil decide to end that fight. The trio gets even more furious and then unleash even more power. Goku, with no time to dodge, simply responds to the attack with a Kamehameha. But his energy is quickly overwhelmed by the energy of Universe 9's warriors. Despite this, Goku smiles and he says, "I wanted to save my energy, but you're trying so hard that I'll go to the next level just out of respect for you." After saying that, while holding the Kamehameha, Goku increases the power of the Super Saiyan's aura, and then the the whole place starts to shake, and the volcano itself erupts. Meanwhile, the Saiyan's hair grows longer, and the wave of energy coming out of his hands gets much bigger. The Kamehameha, which was once losing to the trio's triple attack, is now charging towards them. The three, desperate to see that they were losing, scream, and then are hit by a Kamehameha and are carried far away, completely disappearing from Goku's line of sight. After defeating the opponents, Goku returns to his base form panting. He wonders if it was a good idea to have wasted energy this way to transform into Super Saiyan 3. He thinks he got more excited than he should have. At that moment, Goku realizes that he is stepping on that hot ground without the protection of Ki, and then he starts bouncing around comically while his feet are burned. Meanwhile, he remembers that he should have taken the Dragon Balls from the three, but he threw them so far away that he can't see them anymore. And since they're probably passed out, he can't feel their energy. He really is an idiot. Despite such a short time of competition, many battles have already taken place. Now most members of Team 4 already have the necessary amount of orbs to pass the first stage, and it only remains for them to reach the center of the planet. But Goku, Hit, Kaba, and Vegeta still don't have the orbs. Will they be able to? Who will be those who will move to the next stage and face the gods of destruction? Find out in the next episodes.